Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if we could have your attention, please. We are now joined here in the Media Center by Hendrick Motorsports team owner Rick Hendrick and NASCAR Camping World Truck Series points leader William Byron. Hendrick Motorsports recently signed William to a multi-year agreement to race full-time in the NASCAR Xfinity Series for Hendrick Motorsports affiliate Junior Motorsports beginning in 2017. So, Mr. Hendrick, we'll start with you. If you could just share some comments on why you signed William, what it is you see in him, and what that means for the team in the future.
Well, you know, it makes me feel real old to remember when I first met William. He was trick-or-treating at my granddaughter's house, and then he went to Jimmy Johnson's house right around the corner. But then watching him at JRM a couple of years ago, we had a luncheon, and he came up and introduced himself and his dad. And he's just kind of what he did at JRM and the late model cars and what he did in legend cars. And he told me that day his dream was to drive for us in the 25 car, because well, we weren't using that number. And then to watch him, what he's accomplished in the K&N series and what he did in the Legend series and won in everything he ever got in. And probably as important as that is the kind of young man he is. And Eagle Scout, going to college and driving at the same time with the Country Day where my kids went. And I told his dad coming up here tonight, I said, you know, it's almost like the water boy for a football team that's ended up being the quarterback, because watching him at JRM and watching him and knowing him, and it's just been amazed at what he's accomplished. So he was real excited, everybody at JRM, when I was talking to Kelly and LW, before I could get anything out other than William Byron. They said, we love that kid. So everybody in our organization's excited, and we want to see him win the Truck Series championship this year. Kyle has done an unbelievable job of putting some great equipment on the track. And, you know, Joe Gibbs called me and congratulated us. Kyle and I've talked. So it's been a really neat experience for our whole company. So we're just really excited to have William in our future.
William, if you could just talk a little bit about what this opportunity means to you.
Yeah, this is an incredible opportunity to have Hendrick Motorsports support, and really meeting Mr. Hendrick for the first time a couple years ago at JRM. It set in the goal to compete for him and race for JRM in the future in Xfinity. So to finally have that opportunity and for things to come together the way they have is really incredible, and I'm just really impressed and thankful that Mr. Hendrick's investing in me and wants to see my future see it through. So I'm really looking forward to the rest of this year in the Truck Series also, but I can't wait till next year at JRM.
Okay, if you have a question, please raise your hand. We will get a microphone to you. We'll start up here in the front with Rick and then go back to Woody.
Hey, William, can you talk a little bit about, this is Rick Bonnell with Charlotte Observer. Can you talk a little bit about growing up and where you got your experience and where you started out? And is there anything maybe out of the ordinary about the way that you've gotten driving experience?
Well, yeah, I started, I was a big race fan since I was 6 years old, and went to my first race at Martinsville. And, you know, I'm definitely being honest when I say Jimmy Johnson was my favorite driver, and that's the cool connection with Hendrick Motorsports now, is that was really my goal. They were the standard for me growing up, and still have been. So yeah, I started racing in iRacing, which is a computer simulation, basically a video game, and I got into a real car when I was 14, which sounds young, but I think it's pretty old for a lot of the drivers that I race against. So it's just all come together, and it's a huge blessing to now be with Hendrick Motorsports and be with JRM. It's really cool. I was 13, so I was actually just 1 year before I got into a legend car for the first time.
Okay, next question from Woody, and then up to Jim, and then over to Bob.
are in. William, Jimmy mentioned the trick-or-treating thing yesterday, and so did Mr. Hendrick. I wonder what you remember about that, and if you even remember what costume you had.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember what costume I had, but I have the pillowcase that has Jimmy's signature on it, and I remember going to the school the next day, and nobody believed me, but it was just really cool, and Jimmy and I were texting a little bit back and forth about that, and he was asking, I think I remember you. Are you really the kid that I met there? And I was just with a bunch of kids going out trick-or-treating, and we walked up to his house and didn't know what to expect. So it's really neat to have this opportunity with Mr. Hendrick and to have him supporting me, and I'm just can't wait.
Okay, we'll take our next question from Jim and then come over to Bob.
Jim Utter, motorsport.com. For Rick, it sounds like you've kind of kept your eye on William for a long time, but is there a specific, was it as with a lot of people, did he grab your attention this season with what he's done in the truck series, and did you think it was the right time to move him up?
Yeah, I just remember more than anything that day, back at JRM when he came up, how polished he was and how polished and kind of persuasive or determined to get in the car in our organization. And then when he got in the trucks, and I watched the trucks, and my neighbor was telling me that knows Bill, his dad, hey, that little Byron kid just won a race. And I said, yeah, well, he drove in the late models, and we talked. And then I started watching, and he started putting them back to back, and I thought, man, we need to. So I asked him, he and his dad, to come by the house, and I just, I'm just so impressed with the person. And then I watched the truck. It reminds me a lot of when Jeff Gordon. I never saw Jeff Gordon in the flesh. Now I did William, but I saw him in the car with a helmet on. I didn't know how little he was with that pencil mustache. Now William looks about the same, No, you watch him run races. I watched the restarts at Pocono, and I was glad that I had reached out. And he's just, you heard me say this about young guys like Chase. He's got the whole package, and I just it's got our whole company excited. It's got JRM excited. It's got our company excited. We cheered for Chase in his first year, and I feel like I go back to that water boy deal, because it just feels like he was a kid with the football team bringing water, and now we've said, hey, you're going to be the starting quarterback.
Go ahead, Bob.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. Rick, I didn't know if you could give us any sort of update on Dale Jr. and maybe when you think he might come back. And then is the signing of William any sort of reaction to possibly if Jr. couldn't come back, or the fact that Jimmy isn't signed past next year, and obviously Casey Kane is struggling?
You asked me about 10 questions in one, Bob. Which one you want me to answer? Let me say this about Dale. Dale, it looks great. I had lunch. He and the road crew went to lunch Wednesday, and I think you've seen the podcast of him playing basketball. We are taking extra effort with the doctors, making sure he's going to be 100%, and he's got a doctor appointment next week. So he's coming along great, and he wants to get back in the car. And beyond that, I don't know anything else to tell you about him. William has nothing to do with Dale at all. William has all to do with our future down the road. From what's going to happen, 3 to 5 years from now, nobody knows. But and about Jimmy Johnson being the last year of his contract, I think you ask me that question every year, that Jimmy Johnson is in the one more year of his contract. He plans to retire there. We plan for him to retire there. So, beyond that, we're excited about him, just like we were Chase. And if you don't get someone in the pipeline when it's time for someone to retire, then you don't have them. And I'd rather bring someone like William along that we know that we've got someone for the future in our company. So
Okay, we'll take our next question from Pete and then go up to the press box for a question.
Pete Iacobelli, Associated Press. Rick, wanted to kind of follow up along those lines, the importance of finding talented young people and teaching them and bringing along. I mean, people think that you've got this super packed lineup and it's going to race forever and ever and ever, but this has got to be a vital part of the business in keeping the organization strong.
Well, I think it sends a strong message to our employees and our sponsors that we're not the only ones ever doing it. You look at all the teams, Roush, Gibbs, Penske, all of them have young drivers. And for me, Jeff Gordon was special. Jimmy Johnson was special. Chase Elliott was special. William I've known and I've watched and I've been amazed, so he's special. And the fit factor, the ability to work with sponsors, all those things are critical in this business. And when I look at someone that's got talent, I'd like to see a guy that can excel outside of the car too. And the job he's done in that truck's been amazing. The job he did in K&N, he won the championship. What he did in legend cars all over the East Coast. I mean, he has won in everything he's ever got into. So that's and when you got the other relationship to go along with it, that's critical to us. So it's just amazing to me when I walked through Motorsports last week and talking to Kelly and LW and Junior, how excited everybody is about William. So we're glad to have him, and we're looking forward to the future.
We'll take our next question from the press box.
ChrisKnightCatchfence.com. William, Liberty University was instrumental in taking you from the computer to the racetrack. I was just wondering if the plan was for them to make the leap into the Xfinity Series with you at JRM next year.
Right now, we don't have a plan with them to be in the Xfinity Series, but they've been a great supporter for me the last 3 years. So really, when I signed with them, when I was running late models, I was going to run with them for 3 years, and this year's been the third year in the Truck Series. So yeah, I'd like to have them on board again, but Mr. Hendrick has definitely made it a point that he's going to work out the sponsorship, and JRM, they'll work together to make sure we have sponsorship to run. So I'm just putting my faith in him and knowing that they'll get it worked out.
Okay, next question from PRN, back right.
Brett McMillan with PRN back here. Rick, has there been a sense of urgency to find a young talent with we know that Toyota has seemingly had a lot of these guys locked up?
Yeah, I think someone said it a little while ago when you sign guys. I can't believe that Jimmy Johnson or Dale or Jeff Gordon have turned 40 years old. But time moves on, and if you don't get them young, someone else is going to get them. And if you don't want to invest in them, trust me, I have been a tremendous failure at driver development. And this isn't driver development. I think one year we wrecked 50-some clips with 3, and I thought that's enough for me. But they had they didn't have the experience or the success that Williams had. So, I think everybody's looking for that next superstar. And if you don't go early, if you're not willing to invest in the future, then you're gonna be in a bind when the time comes. So, and it really, I love seeing young guys become successful. I mean, that means as much to me as anything I've ever done in this sport. Is just to see the guys that have won championships and the guys that become champions win races for us. So the answer to that question, I think, is you have to get them early, or someone else is going to offer them something, and then you'll be at someone else's mercy. So this one we know, this one we've had, and we are super excited.
Okay, we have time for just a couple more questions, so we'll come up to Pam and then over to Dustin.
Deb Williams, RacingToday.com. I have one for Rick and one for William. Rick, could you please give us a timeline as to how things progressed from when you decided you wanted to sign William and when you started the talk and negotiations until the signing? And William, about a year or so ago when I spoke with you on a story for the Charlotte Observer, you told me how Liberty University was going to work with you on your studies, the professors were going to work with you. How do you see that unfolding now that you'll be in the Xfinity Series next year?
I see it developing pretty well just because I'm taking online classes right now there, and I'm actually going on campus next Thursday. So I'm starting classes. So they've always been a big part of my program, and I've enjoyed that. And I'm looking to kind of repay them with going there and also furthering my education for my own reasons. So that's really important. I think they're going to work with me, and they have a great program to kind of schedule my classes around my racing. So they know racing is my career, and they know they can work around that. So they're definitely looking forward to it.
Okay, next question from Dustin. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I don't remember all the dates, but we started talking about William early, I'd say April, May, and then I reached out through my neighbor. Then my neighbor called me, and I didn't have his dad's number, and so then his dad, we talked and we set a time, and that was, I don't know, a month ago, I'm not sure, and then we signed the deal last Tuesday. Yeah, and I was out of town. His dad was out of town. His dad's here today. Bill, raise your hand. Yeah, and so we didn't. There wasn't any sense of urgency. But then, after he won 2 or 3 races back to back, I thought I'd better hurry up. So that's kind of timeline.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Rick, Jeff's said that he was not available in the 88 next week. He said he could obviously come back at Darlington if needed or beyond, but do you view this as his last race, I guess, again? And secondly, he's talked about that you've kind of lit a fire under things at the shop with the performance recently. What have you kind of done, and I guess how much of a frustration is there on your part?
Well, Jeff, we'll take Jeff first. I've disrupted Jeff's life this summer. He was in France on vacation, and I asked him to come home, and I said, "Are you serious?" And he's willing to do everything he can to help the company. And he had a prior commitment that he couldn't change for Michigan, and he could come in on Sunday. But it's not fair to the team, especially with this package. We need all the practice we can get, and to stick somebody in a car that hadn't driven it, that's not going to make sense. So we hope that Dale's going to be back pretty quick, but we want him 100%. And so I don't want to try to commit Jeff too far because he might not do it. So I have to wait week to week. But seriously, he's a team player. Jeff's I can't say enough about Jeff Gordon, the person, and he's got good feedback to the team. We have been struggling this year. We haven't been as good as we want to be or should be, and I have committed to everybody in the organization. I was in the wind tunnel the other night. I got up at 4:30 in the morning. I've been in the shop with the guys, and we know we have the ingredients, and we're not satisfied, and we're gonna do whatever it takes. That's been our motto all these years, and we're 242 wins and Cup Series, and we're not done. And this shows our organization that we're looking to the future, and nobody's satisfied. And we've wrecked more cars in the last. I mean, how do you wreck on the first lap? A couple of weeks in a row, wreck three cars, and we haven't led either, like we usually do. So, not making any excuses. We got to go to work. That's the deal, and we're all committed. We're all excited, and we look at. Nobody stays on top forever, but we're not happy being in where we are. So we want to get back.
since you don't have an engineering degree, what are you doing at a wind tunnel? My guess is how much. I mean, what kind of things can you do there, or some other things? What's the value, or what are the things that you're able to do to kind of push the organization forward? Because going to a wind tunnel doesn't seem like that would be a good use of your time. In one sense.
If you ask guys to work 20 hours in a wind tunnel, being there with them to support them and looking at the data with them shows that I'm willing to do whatever it takes. If I tape up a window, or as a joke, sand a quarter panel, and you're right, I'm not an engineer, but I've made a living and grown the sport, that our company, in both sides of the ball, automotive and racing, by being a servant leader, and that means you're there to support the rest of them. And I'm accountable, they're accountable, and we kind of locked arms and everybody pitched in, and we're excited. You know, when you're not doing well, you can walk away from it and point fingers, or you can jump in it and say, let's get with it. We know how to do it, and let's get better working together. And I got excited and pumped up, and I love being with the guys. I wish I could be there all the time, but I think it's support. I mean, when you're taking 4 cars to the wind tunnel and you're asking guys to work late nights and 20-hour shifts, that's hard. That's a lot of work, and you know, so I'm real proud of our company, and we're gonna be better, and I feel good about it, and I like the challenge.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in. Congratulations again.
Thank you.